Hey y'all, it's Stacy. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today's lesson is all about the classic baked mac and cheese. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of event you go to in the South, whether it's a potluck or a family gathering, chances are there's going to be some type of mac and cheese there. And the thing is that some people are a little intimidated by the process, but it's actually really easy. Let me show you how to make my version of a baked mac and cheese. So, to start, I've got about a gallon of water, 4 quarts, boiling here in a pot over high heat. Now, when you do that, make sure that you boil your water first. We don't want to start with salt in the water while it's cold. If that salt sits on the bottom of your pot, it can actually damage your pot. Not only that, but adding salt to boiling water is going to get it dissolved faster. So we're going to add about a tablespoon of salt per gallon of water. It's going to boil up a little bit. And you know, the added thing about adding the salt now is that certainly keeping the lid on it will make it boil a little faster. It'll also keep the stove top clean. And when you boil salted water, if it splashes out, it's going to leave spots all over everything because it's got salt right in there. To this water, I'm going to add a half of a 1 pound or 16-ounce package. This is just standard elbow macaroni. You can double this recipe if you're feeding tons of folks. It works perfectly doubled, but this feeds 4 to 6 folks. This equates to about 1.5 cups of the dried pasta. And that's going to go right in our boiling water there. Actually, let me give this a stir. You know, you want to stir this pretty frequently because pasta has a tendency to stick. So we want to make sure that we're keeping it all moving. Once it comes back to a boil, you don't have to stir it as much because that boiling water will keep it moving. So let's talk about what's next here. In my Dutch oven here, I've got about 2 tablespoons of butter that I've melted. Just regular unsalted butter is fine. If you only have salted, it'll work fine too. I'm going to add to this about 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. What we're doing is we're making a roux here. Equal parts fat and flour is all that we're doing. I'm using a sauce whisk here. It's a flat whisk. It works great for creating sauces like this because of the flat surface area. It just is going to help keep things from scorching. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different than like a traditional whisk like this, which will work just fine. It's just going to you're going to have to put in a little more effort with that kind of whisk. These are super inexpensive, and I use it all the time for stuff like this. All right, so what we've done is we've created a roux. The next thing we're going to do is add about 2 cups of milk. Now, I've zapped this milk in the microwave to heat it up. If we add cold milk to a roux like this, we have a tendency to curdle our sauce. So warming the milk is a little insurance policy to keep that from happening. I'm just going to whisk and stir and pour. What we're doing essentially is we've turned that roux now into a bechamel sauce. We're going to reduce this heat down. What we're going to do is we're going to allow this to thicken. It's going to take about 5 minutes, and we're going to need to stir this pretty frequently. Again, that's another reason why a sauce whisk like this works really well, but you don't need to go buy a sauce whisk to make mac and cheese. Just keep in mind that a regular one will work as well. Well, that works. I'm going to give my pasta another stir here. Now, it's important with the pasta to check out the packaging or the box that it came in and cook the pasta according to that package. Different brands are made a little bit differently, and they may require a different cook time. What we want to do is we want to cook that just to al dente because this is going to go in the oven for about 20 minutes, and it's going to continue to cook during that time. So if we cook it till it's totally soft now, we run the risk of it being kind of mushy when it comes out of the oven. Now, let's talk about our cheese. For me, mac and cheese should be made with hoop cheese. Now, you know, here's the thing though. Hoop cheese is hard to find. Not everybody has access to it. Hoop cheese is a very basic cheese that's made with milk. It's made by separating the curds from the whey. Like a farmer's cheese is made with additional cream and salt. This is made with just milk. It's super popular. Well, it was super popular in the South. It's kind of hard to find now. Typically, an independently owned grocery store is the most common place to find it. You can even find it at gas stations in places across the South. It's a rubbery cheese, a rubbery texture, kind of a nutty flavor. but it's super creamy. You can often find it with a red wax ring like this. You might also find it with a black wax ring. When I was a kid, my grandparents helped to run this little grocery store, and they always sold hoop cheese in the back at the meat counter. And I remember going with them in the mornings to the store, and my grandfather would take hoop cheese and slice it really thin and put it on plain white bread. And they had this little toaster oven in the back of the store, and we would always have cheese toast for breakfast. So hoop cheese kind of has a nostalgic thing for me. All right, as this is thickening, I'm just going to give it a little more work here to get this moving. Like I said, we want to make sure that we're stirring pretty frequently so that we're not scorching that sauce. And eventually what you're going to see is this is going to start thickening up. That flour in there is going to start absorbing that moisture, and the whole sauce is going to start to thicken. You're going to need about 2.5 cups of shredded cheese. Now, like I said before, if you can't get hoop cheese, you can absolutely use pretty much any kind of cheddar. You can even use the cheese that you can buy in the packages that's already shredded. The problem with that is that all of that cheese is coated with cellulose or cornstarch to keep it from sticking together in the bag. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that cheese that powder on that cheese can cause your mac and cheese to curdle. So unfortunately, grating it by hand is really the best way to do this, but you can use that if you're short on time. I'm going to give this one more stir. This pasta is supposed to take somewhere between 9 and 10 minutes. And then we're going to drain this, and we're going to get started with the rest of our dish. Okay, so our bechamel, our sauce here has thickened. What we're going to do is start adding this cheese to it. We're going to add about 1.5 cups of this cheese into our sauce here. We're going to save that last cup to be sprinkled on the top of our mac and cheese before it goes in the oven. All right, once we've added our cheese, we're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And again, you can always taste this and adjust to seasoning. Once we've gotten the majority of our cheese incorporated, we're going to turn this eye off and then check our pasta and get ready to drain that so that we can add that to our mac and cheese. Now, the only real way to know if your macaroni is done is to taste it. Like I said, we want it to be al dente. We want it to have some texture because it's going to continue to cook once it's in the oven. And that's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and drain this. All right, once that's drained, what we're going to do is we're just going to add this directly to our cheese sauce that we made here. Now, once we've added the cheese, technically what we've done is we've gone from bechamel sauce to a Mornay sauce. That's all super complicated. It doesn't matter. You just do it, right? Just stir this together, and it's going to look pretty soupy at this point, and that's totally fine because what's going to happen is this is going to tighten up more once it's in the oven. That pasta is going to absorb some of that moisture. It's going to thicken up, and that's what we want to happen. I've got a 2-quart baking dish here. I'm just going to spray this right with nonstick cooking spray. Quick tip, if you're doing that, sometimes you spray and you get spray all over the kitchen. Open your dishwasher door like this, spray right on the inside. All that overspray is going to go in your dishwasher and not all over your kitchen. Another quick tip is when you're using cooking spray like that, take a paper towel and just wipe off the edges. Everybody knows how hard it is to scrub that excess cooking spray off of a dish like this once it's been baked on. So a quick wipe with a paper towel gives you a little bit of a head start there. All right. Turn this just like that, and we're going to pour this right into, if I can do this without making a mess here, pour this right into our baking dish. Scoop that last little bit out. As much as I love a gas cooktop, These handles sure do get hot. And as long as I've been cooking, I've still been known to grab the handle and burn myself. All right, that last cup of cheese is just going to go right on the top here. I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. This is going to cook for 15 to 20 minutes or until it's golden and bubbly and that cheese is melted and nice golden brown. Okay, so this has been in the oven for 15, 20 minutes. What you're going to look for is you want that cheese to be nice golden brown. And it'll be bubbling around the edges. You know, the pasta is already pretty much cooked, so the little bit additional time is all you're going to need there. And there it is, mac and cheese. You could do this in a 2-quart dish like this, in an 8x8. And like I said, you can also double this and do it in a 9x13 baking dish. Once it rests for just a little bit, that sauce is going to thicken up, and you're going to have nice, gooey, thick, cheesy, delicious mac and cheese. And look how easy that was.